Welcome, Mike Martinez. Today we're going to talk about an interesting article I found online, CBC News from Canada. And this is pertaining specifically to this lady you see here on the screen, and a situation that happened. She's been married 32 years, and for whatever reason, don't know the details of what happened within her marriage, but her husband decided one day he was going to burn her to death, and he sprays her with gasoline, and uh, he sprays her with gasoline while she's lying in bed, and he lights her up, and she nearly dies over the incident, and spends months and months and months in the hospital. The husband is caught for attempted murder charges, and the house burns down because of the situation. Now, it was a criminal act, and but unfortunately, in the province that she lives in Ontario, Canada, not all policies are like this, but the policy she had a provision that if somebody that's listed in the policy commits a criminal act, and because of that there's damage to the property, then that nullifies the agreement, or that nullifies the policy, and there's no payout. So, unfortunately, this lady was a victim of her husband, and went through this awful situation. And when she finally wakes up from a coma, she finds out, what how severe her personal health was, and now she also finds out that the insurance company is denying to pay her. So when this first came out, and the company is Allstate. When it first came out, Allstate said that they would review this. When it became public, when it came out into the open, and everybody's looking at that, they're obviously protecting their reputation. So they decided they were going to review the claim, or at least that's what they said, because according to the story right here, while Allstate was saying that, they were actually going. You see right here, it says Allstate told CBC it will review its handling of the current claim and policy. Yet, despite what it told, the company was simultaneously in court fighting the claim for repairs. And in addition to that, they wanted this lady to pay for the legal fees, which amounted to tens of thousands of dollars. So not only were they denying her claim, they were saying, yeah, we'll review it, but they're in court saying, no, we're not reviewing nothing. We have no responsibility here. As a matter of fact, the defendant owes us for the legal fees that we are incurring here, which amounts to tens of thousands of dollars. Now, here's the deal, and you know what? Some people looking at this may say, Mike, it was a contractual agreement, and the agreement said XYZ, and the company is following the XYZ, and that's 100% true. Okay, unfortunately, that lady participated or signed or went with a company that in that particular province in Canada did not really look out for her best interest, right? Or at least when it came to this particular case where a criminal act was done, and because a person in the policy, not all policies have that provision, but in this particular province in Canada, those provisions were allowed in the policy. So unfortunately, the law dictates that yes, that's what it was. Now, again, you can say, hey, hey, Mike, you're looking at this the wrong way. But the bottom line is, there's a certain, yeah, you know what? Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what the judge said. All right, the decision was to the judge made the decision to not enforce the policy, or not give anything to the lady, because the policy was spelled out that way, and he was following the law that he has to do that. But he also said something very interesting. He said that uh, all state use all states' use of an exclusion, which has been legislated out of existence in some of the provinces, raise questions about fairness and fundamental decency. That's the bottom line. I mean, there's a fundamental decency there that that goes into play. I don't think anybody could argue with that, right? I don't think anybody could argue with the fact that yes, you're saying you're going to review this, but you're in court fighting it, and you want to stick the lady with $10,000 worth or more of legal fees. So, I mean, these are the things that homeowners have to look out for. Number one, you have to make sure the policy that you have is a policy that's going to cover you in a whole bunch of different situations. These are situations that come up, and they're not, if they have to be addressed specifically in order for them to be enforced. But if they're not addressed specifically, you have to understand your policy. That's the bottom line. You have to understand what you're covered for, what you're not covered for, and if there's a question about something that you should be covered for that you're not covered for, your options is to go back, negotiate that policy, or use another company entirely, right? That's your option, and you should exercise that. A lot of people just don't realize that. And a lot of times, to be honest with you, a lot of times you get a policy and you stick with the same company for 20, 30 years. Every year that they renew your policy, they're changing things, right? A lot of times they add something. They add a different provision, a different exclusion, a different deductible or something like that, right? And if you're not aware of that, that's why it's important to have a public adjuster do a free policy review for you, just to make sure, hey, this is the last policy, this is the new policy. Hey, look at that, you didn't have that wind deductible that you have now. Oh, and it says it's only 5%. That's what you look at, but it's 5% of what? 5% of the value of the property. That's a that could be a lot of money, right? So there's a lot of different ways in which you can maximize the protection you're getting with your insurance company. Unfortunately, this situation with this lady here, she went through things that you you go through when you're not aware of what's going on. And if you go through this article here, and I'll give you the name of it again so you can research it yourself. But if you go through the article, you find out that she's not the only one. There's quite a few cases in Canada that are related to these type of issues. So again, these are the commercials. I mean, these are the companies that are in the commercials saying how they're going to take care of mayhem, how they're going to protect you, how they're going to do this and that, until there's an issue. When there's an issue, they kind of backpedal and they say, wait, let's see what the policy. Oh, wow, did you know? Right? And that's how they can get away with it. So, number one, it's your responsibility to understand what kind of coverage you have. Very important that you do that. If you don't know what kind of coverage you have, you could be surprised at a time of an emergency that you're not covered for that particular thing. Very important, right? And you want to make sure that if you're not covered in the right way, that you get covered, you renegotiate that policy, or you have something taken out, or you have something added, or use another company entirely. That's your option. You can do that. You hold the cards there. Don't just hey, I've been using them for 15 years. They're going to look out. You haven't had a claim. If you haven't had a claim in 15 years, and you've been using them, then all the benefit is going to them, right? They haven't done anything for you yet, so you don't know if and when something happens, how they're going to react, or how they're going to take out the magnifying glass and read that fine print that they're good at, right? So that's the message today. This is unfortunately, this lady went through a terrible situation. Can't imagine, right? Going through something like that, and then waking up after months of being in a coma and finding out the insurance company's not going to pay you for the home that you had. So, the husband is in jail. She is now just getting out of a coma from lying in bed in the hospital for months and months, and now, she hears, "I'm sorry, but you're not covered." And on top of that, the insurance company wants her to pay for the legal fees. So these are the things that go on, and these are the reasons why you need somebody behind you. My name is Mike Martinez. I'm a public adjuster. If I could be of service to you, please, please get on the phone with me. Let me know that you'd like to have a free policy review, like you have a claim that you'd like me to take care of, whatever the case is. But have somebody on your side. You're going to need that. Speak to you next time.